All right, it's just me this morning. Good morning, good morning. I see Granddad's in the chat there. Good morning, old man. Good to see you. Love you. It's Firearms Friday, baby. And rather than deal with talking about Biden's most recent gun grab moves, I'll tell you the truth, they're coming so fast, I'm getting frustrated, so I'm probably going to do a more comprehensive compilation on several of them as they develop. So this morning, I'm just going to do the good old-fashioned Firearms Friday. Let's hit the scorecard. There's the first article. And we don't need the backup, Cameron. So, let's see what we got to start with. Holly Township man shoots drunk friend who pulled knife. State police say. Oh dear. Anarchy, good morning, brother, good morning. A fight between two men in northern Oakland County last week led to one being shot. Michigan State Police said Monday. A man arrived at his friend's house in Holly Township intoxicated on Sunday night, and an argument occurred on the back porch of the home after the visitor was asked to leave. During the argument, the visitor pulled a knife and went toward the homeowner, who was in possession of a registered pistol at the time. The resident, in turn, fired a single shot, striking his friend. Both men called 911. The visitor was taken to a local hospital for his injuries. Investigators learned he had open warrants for domestic violence, as well as operating a vehicle while intoxicated. The man was turned over to Oakland County Sheriff's Office, state police said. Okay. Now, I would like to say, hey, Ma joined us. Good morning, Ma. Yeah, there you go. Steve says, they said friend. That doesn't sound like a friend. No, it doesn't. And quite frankly, if your friends, if your friends have a bunch of outstanding warrants and, let's be real. If these guys knew each other and the one had violent tendencies adequate that a little bit of booze in him turns into I'm waving a knife at you in your own home, guys, that's not your friend. Get rid of him. Don't associate with him. Don't answer the phone when he calls. Okay? I don't even know how to score this one. I think I'm going to chalk it up to I'm going to call it a BRM. But cautiously, because I really don't know how aggressive the friend got. It's hard to score this one, honestly. This sounds like, this guy was not your friend. No. Get rid of him. Okay. It's one of those headlines I didn't read before we moved toward it. So we'll take this one. This sounds like fun. Here we go. These 11 incidents underscore outrage of Biden's slap in the face to gun owners. So let's see. Looks like a longer article. Okay, cool. We'll just go through the various incidents. Well, no, I'll read the article. Amy Swearer, legal fellow in the Edwin Meese Center for Legal and Judicial Studies at the Heritage Foundation. So, Emma Nietzsche is a young member of the Young Leaders Program at the Heritage Foundation. So we're looking at the Daily Signal, and we're looking at two young ladies from the Heritage Foundation. That bodes well for the pro-Second Amendment position of the two young ladies. Just a little over halfway through its first 100 days, the Biden administration has made it very clear where it stands on the Second Amendment, releasing a slew of executive orders that are likely to punish responsible gun owners without meaningfully affecting crime rates. Perhaps worse, Biden nominated gun control lobbyist David Chipman to head the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, a slap in the face to American gun owners. Chipman's advocacy for severe restrictions on gun ownership is well known, as is his tendency to misstate basic facts about firearms and existing laws to further his gun control agenda. Okay. So, this article, guys, y'all know the rules. I try not to read the headlines. I try not to read them any further than to make sure that it's an armed self-defense incident, so that I'm at least a little bit surprised, and Cameron especially is surprised when he's on the show with us. So let's deal with that just a little bit. She mentions David Chipman, and I believe he's the one. If I can find I'm going to try to find the image real quick. Do. So, Chipman's the guy from, from the government. I don't want to hear from you, John Roberts. Chipman is a gun owner, according to the Associated Press. Of course he is. An explosive expert, and here it is, was part of the team involved in the Oklahoma City bombing and the first World Trade Center bombing. He also was engaged in the probe of a series of church bombings in Alabama, retired from the ATF in 2012. Well, this article's from Fox News, and it doesn't even mention his nastier past. Oh yeah, there's Steve. He was involved in the Waco cover-up, worked with Giffords anti-gun group, etc. Yeah, there are pictures of him standing over the bodies at Waco, basically celebrating with his trophies of murdered women and children. Right, that's Biden's pick for the ATF. Chipman's advocacy for severe restrictions on gun ownership is well known, as is his tendency to misstate basic facts about firearms. Let's see what that links to real quick. Anti-gun fanatic to run ATF. David Chipman, President Joe Biden's nominee, doesn't possess a rudimentary understanding of the Second Amendment, which, considering his job, seems like a problem. So, okay, Chipman made headlines last year by brazenly mocking the 8 million Americans who bought firearms for the first time in 2020, implying they were afraid of zombies and comparing them to Tiger King. Okay. Chipman, he's not qualified. Anarchy. I'm glad you said that. Anarchy says they really don't care how much we suffer to further their agenda. You're wrong. You're wrong, Anarchy. It's not that they don't care how much we suffer to further their agenda. As I've said many times on this show, the people we're talking about, Biden and his ilk, Democrats generally, they prefer it. They will not vote for anything that they want unless it can be demonstrated how it will cause harm to someone. A Democrat never wants to win anything that a Democrat says he wants unless it can be demonstrated that in winning something, he can cause harm to someone else. And not necessarily just causing harm to a Republican because it's tactically effective in the political context. No. A great example is the affirmative action plan. You have to remember, a big part of the whole plan with affirmative action was understanding that it would cause problems, understanding that it would actually cause harm by making it disadvantageous to hire people of certain races. That's why they went ahead with it. If it were the case that the affirmative action plans would have actually made hiring more fair, they never would have gone through with it. Same thing with the minimum wage. The whole point to minimum wage was to create unemployment, right? To eliminate jobs which paid below a certain amount. Because there were jobs that paid very, very low, which were taken by people who did not have the skills to compete for a higher paying job. And it gave you the opportunity. One of my favorite examples is the movie theaters. The movie theaters used to have a guy that would walk you to your seat. That was his job. He was an usher. He had a flashlight. He would walk you to your seat. That job paid next to nothing. But it was a job. It was a job for which you showed up at a certain time, worked for a certain period of time, completed a specific task, and that task was simple, right? Didn't require a great deal of training, so not terribly expensive to hire somebody for. And as a 15, 16-year-old kid that hadn't even graduated high school yet, wanted a little pocket money for the weekend, go to the sock hop, right? That's a great way to say, okay, look, you're not good enough. You don't have enough skills to be useful. I can't afford to hire you and pay you to do nothing of value. But I can pay you this menial wage. You can do this thing which has some limited value. And there you go. A minimum wage said, you have to pay this person 3 times what they're worth. Well, I can't afford to pay a person 3 times what they're worth. I can't. I'm too broke to buy cheap. I can't hire somebody who can't do a job. Functionally, it would not be different than saying it is no longer okay for you to hire a person that doesn't have a 4-year college degree. But there's only so many of those. Well, yeah, that's why we need to make college free, so everybody has a 4-year college degree. If everybody has a 4-year college degree, then what good is it to have a 4-year college degree? Suddenly it's no longer a scarce resource. It doesn't have competitive market value. Steve. Okay, Steve. It's okay. You just have to pay closer attention in the future. So the point, all that, the point is, the Democrat will never vote for a thing that the Democrat says he wants unless it can be demonstrated that getting what he wants comes by causing harm to someone else. They are not good people. And those of them that seem to be nice and decent and good, in their naivete, they are harmless, which means they're not capable of making good choices and are therefore not good. So I will not go so far as to say that all Democrats, including their voter base, are evil, but I will go so far as to say that none of them are morally good. You cannot be morally good unless you are dangerous and choose not to be, and choose to do good things. At best you can be mediocre. At best you can be morally valueless. Harmless doesn't mean evil, but it certainly means not good. Almost every major study on the issue found that Americans use their firearms in self-defense between 500,000 and 3 million times a year, according to a 2013 report by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. We have good reason to believe that many of these defensive gun uses aren't reported to police, much less make the local or national news. For this reason, the Daily Signal each month publishes an article highlighting some of the previous month's many news stories on defensive gun use that you may have missed, or that might not have made it to the national spotlight in the first place. The examples below represent only a small portion of the news stories on defensive gun use that we found in March. You may explore more by using the Heritage Foundation Interactive Defense Gun Use Database. I'm going to pull that up and bookmark it. There. So, March 3rd, Daphne, Alabama. Okay, now we've got 11 real short ones. So I'm gonna hit them one at a time, and I'm gonna score them one at a time. So, a woman's ex-husband showed up at her apartment armed with a rifle and began using the butt of the rifle to break down the door. Woman called 911, but while she was on the phone with dispatchers, her ex-husband forced his way inside, police say. He was confronted by the woman's armed boyfriend, who exchanged as many as 15 rounds with the intruder, ultimately killing him. No one else in the apartment, including the woman's 8-year-old daughter, was harmed. I'm going to give that a great big old DRT. I like it when the bad guy doesn't make it to the hospital, because it offends me to see evil people waste our resources. You know, let me, I'll go ahead and zoom those up a little bit so y'all can read them more easily. March 6th, Massapequa, New York, when a knife-wielding robber approached a man in a residential neighborhood and demanded his money and keys, a Good Samaritan attempted to intervene. When the robber turned toward him in a threatening manner, the Good Samaritan drew a firearm and shot the robber once in the leg, police said. The robber fled, but police soon located and arrested him. That's a BRM. Center mass. Always center mass. Okay? March 8th, Colorado Springs, Colorado. A quick-thinking store employee used a handgun to run off 2 young men who attempted to rob the store and steal a customer's purse, police said. The employee showed a gun and fired one shot during a struggle with one robber, apparently wounding him and sending the second robber fleeing. Police arrested the wounded robber and issued an arrest warrant for the second robber. Practice, practice, practice. Practice makes permanent. Perfect practice makes perfect permanent. Practice, practice, practice. March 10th, Lee County, Virginia. A man with a violent criminal history showed up to his in-laws' home intoxicated and armed with a knife, threatening to kill everyone as he tried to force his way inside. At one point, he was able to enter the residence and began to violently drag his wife toward the door. The father-in-law acted quickly to save his daughter, fatally shooting her husband before he could leave, police said. Investigators cleared the father-in-law of wrongdoing, saying his use of deadly force was justified under state law. Good God, I wish I had a better score than DRT today. But that's a DRT right there, and a good one. Good on you, Papa Bear, for taking care of that little girl. Having 3 daughters myself. Whew. Yep. Steve points out, although they are BRM issues, they are indeed defensive issues. That is correct. That is correct. But doing the right thing and doing the right thing well are 2 different things. A man on the run from police knocked on a homeowner's door in Lindale, Texas, and demanded money. Police said the homeowner pulled out a revolver and pointed it at the man, who was wanted in the shooting of a woman, prompting him to flee. Police had been engaged in a large manhunt for the intruder, using bloodhounds and a helicopter to track him. They arrested him 2 days later. Man on the run from police. The homeowner pulled out a revolver. Okay. I'm not going to give this one a score. The homeowner pulled out the revolver and scared the bad guy off. And in fairness, it doesn't say anything here about the bad guy being armed or actually attacking the homeowner. And there's no reason to believe that the homeowner had any knowledge of who this guy was, that he was involved in shooting a woman, that he was running from the police. There's nothing here to suggest that the homeowner had enough information to, say, conduct a citizen's arrest, a perfectly lawful citizen's arrest. And as Steve points out, this is an example of most handgun defense events. The firearm was shown and it ended the situation. And Dave Bowen points out, yeah, that's exactly what I was just saying. We don't know what the homeowner knew, just a guy asking for money. So, obviously it's not a dead right there or dead over there, because the bad guy wasn't even shot. And I think... yeah, we're going to call that good discipline. That's a clean one. I don't have a scorecard for that one. Maybe I'm still working on expanding the scorecard deck, guys. I'm giving it thought amid the flurry of other things we're working on at the moment. So, Noonan, Georgia. Woohoo! March 15th. This was a month ago. A woman waiting in a McDonald's drive-thru line was assaulted by a man who police said began to argue with her for no apparent reason. At one point, the man reached inside her vehicle and began choking the woman, who drew her handgun and fired 2 shots into the air in self-defense. Police later arrested and charged him with aggravated assault. Never fire a warning shot. The only warning shot you should ever fire is if confronted with multiple assailants. Every assailant past the first one should consider those 2 rounds in the chest to be their warning. Okay, so I'm giving her a BRM. Good on her. You know, hey, she was armed. She was prepared to defend herself in theory. But the correct answer here was to press the weapon into the assailant and let him have it. Just finish him off right there. For so many reasons. One, you don't want the bad guy to get away. You don't. Right? And like Dave and Steve are pointing out, especially through the roof of your own car, now, even though you've managed to save your own life, and the damage to your property is a small thing compared to the fact that you have managed to save your own life, but quite separately from that, the rounds that went through the roof of that car are going to come back down somewhere, and they're going to come back down at terminal velocity. So they're not going to be hitting quite as hard as if they had just been fired directly from the weapon, but coming down that's bad. Maul is pointing out there was a mass shooting in the FedEx facility in Indianapolis overnight. 8 shot and killed, 4 injured, and perpetrator killed himself. We also know that the perpetrator was not white because the headlines that I've seen so far have not been the headline "White man slaughters people with dangerous AR-15." So I'll lay even money right now that it's going to be a non-white perpetrator, and the story's going to disappear as soon as it possibly can. You won't be hearing about it Monday morning, unless it turns out that it was a black Brexit voter who was super pro-Trump. And yeah, let's lay odds on that one, guys. Which is not to say that there weren't a crapload of black men who voted for Donald Trump, but I can also tell you that they're not the ones that are going to be pulling some shit like that. And yes, Ma, if one of those employees, if just one person there had been armed, that easily could have saved 7 or even 8 lives. Okay. So, Noonan was a BRM. Moving on, Cleveland, Ohio. St. Patrick's Day party turned deadly when a man ignored a restraining order barring him from contacting his ex-girlfriend and showed up looking for her. Oh. I know this is going to be a thing that I'm going to have to talk to my daughters about. Don't date trashy men. And you're going to bring little man home to meet daddy. And we're going to have a conversation. And at the end of that conversation, I'm going to tell you if he's trash or not. I really, really am. And I will err on the side of trash. Not because I have a low opinion of men, because I have a low opinion of products of the public education system. So, the ex-boyfriend attempted to kick in the door, prompting a third man inside to fire a single round through the door, fatally wounding the attacker. Police said the woman had reported that the ex-boyfriend had threatened to kill her and had been physically violent. She told police that he was capable of killing her and had access to weapons. It says fatally wounding. It doesn't say anything about taking him to the hospital. I'll give that one a DOT. No DOTs yet. March 21st, Union City, North Carolina, a resident used his rifle to defend himself and his household after two men, at least one armed, forced their way into the resident's home. The resident fired several rounds at the intruders, wounding one. Police arrested and charged one man and said they would arrest and charge the other man upon his release from a hospital. BRM. Center mass, guys. A restraining order isn't much of a wall. Tell your daughters to shoot. This message brought to you by the Brushfire Mind. Hallelujah. Steve Rodemeyer. 100%. You know where Daddy's pistol is. You know when you can use it. And that's the last we're going to say about that for the moment. An observant homeowner in Oklahoma, Lukeba, Oklahoma, armed himself after noticing that two men circling his residence in a suspicious manner. His suspicions were confirmed a short time later when the two tried to kick in his door. Police said the homeowner fired a shot at the men, sending them running back to their car. They fired back at the homeowner and another family member as they fled. Police arrested them following an hours-long manhunt after they crashed their car into a tree. So he didn't hit anybody. We give that a BRM. I'm going to close with a story. A couple of years ago, Cameron was over here. He was hanging out. I had already gone to bed, and he and Fee were still having a couple of drinks. And then I woke up around midnight and got up to get back to work. I went out, and Cameron asked, "Chris, did you take one of my beers?" And when he asked, I was annoyed by the question for so many reasons. And he said, I'm only asking because one of them was, you dropped one in the garage and it broke and spilt all over the place. And that just didn't seem like you. And I thought, no, I didn't. That's the thing that didn't happen. And so I went out in the garage to clean up the mess and noticed I'm missing some body armor and an ammo box full of airsoft BBs and some tools. Okay. So I call the police, call the sheriff's department, and tell them, hey, I think my garage has just been robbed. Turned out Cameron had actually talked to the guy when he had stepped outside earlier for a cigarette. The guy, homeboy, had happened to walk by, and they spoke briefly. If I've got my timeline correct, I think the guy had already come into the garage and stolen some stuff and was coming back. He clearly made a few trips. We found my property scattered in other people's yards. And, once I realized that there was stuff missing and all that was going, I'm getting to that, Steve. I called the sheriffs, and they came out. When the sheriffs arrived, they found me in the driveway in my bathrobe with a cup of coffee in one hand and my revolver in the other. And I was still on the phone with the dispatcher, had a Bluetooth in, and was still on the phone with the dispatcher when the sheriffs pulled up. And so I'm out there with, like I said, a bathrobe and a revolver and a cup of coffee when they pulled up. And I said, yeah, he took, I know he at least took this, and this. And I've been out here looking for him and kind of standing guard just in case he come back. And I'd been patrolling up and down the street looking for him. And the sheriffs got out. They didn't say anything about the pistol. I just stuck it in my pocket and pulled a flashlight out and started walking around with them. We found the guy. They ran him in. Two of the sheriffs were kind enough to hang out with me for a little while, and they ran up and down the street as I was walking with their big spotlights shining everywhere. And I was able to recover a good bit of my property, including a large cardboard box that had an Army IOTV, which is a pretty heavy duty suit of body armor, a couple of airsoft guns, and a couple of cases. And then, I think it was about 3 weeks later, the sheriff's department calls me and says, "Hey, we need you to come in. We've got other property that was recovered after the incident, and we need you to come and identify if any of it's yours, and then you can collect it and bring it home." And I said, "Okay, cool." So I go in, and sure enough, they had 3 rifle cases, which each of the 3 rifle cases had 2 or 3 airsoft rifles in them, and those were mine, and I collected those. Toolbox with some of my tools in it, a couple of other odds and ends, another ammo can that had airsoft magazines in it, and I shit you not, an empty 5-gallon water jug, which I recognize as having been because I've got a water cooler upstairs that does hot water on one side, so we have hot tea right now. I don't have to put the kettle on, as it were. Some bitch stole, among everything else, an empty 5-gallon water jug. So yeah, he was high as a kite. Now, the story gets even better when you know that at the time we were running a little kind of clandestine produce co-op. We would go to the farmer's market once a week and buy $150, $200 worth of bulk fruits and vegetables, and then we'd bring them home and break them down into these grocery bags, and we were selling 20 or 30 of them a week. And so we had these people coming every Friday to pick up their groceries, and it was it was a fun little deal, not making a lot of money, but it was making more than enough to cover itself anyway. So one of our customers at the time shows up and realizes when she gets there that, "Oh my God, I recognize your address from the court summons." It was her son that had done it, right? And notice I haven't used any names here. So one of our customers happened to be the mother of the young man who had gotten high and drunk and robbed my garage. And it's funny and it's sad because she just broke down. Once she realized what was going on, she came to pick up her fruits and vegetables that day and was just absolutely mortified. And I told her, she asked if she could send him around to apologize or something. And I told her, "Look, the boy got himself in trouble. He did something stupid. If you want to send him around to apologize, then I'll hear what he has to say, and I promise I won't shoot him." So, I wonder what the crackheads and the meth heads are going to do when the shit hits the fan. "Ransack and squat in the houses people flee from, I imagine," says Steve. Yeah. So if you are still in Minneapolis, by the way, leave. Don't sell your house. You don't have time. Pack up your valuables and rent a hotel room outside of the city limits. Go. You're not safe. You could not be less safe in this country than right there, right now. Go. So, it's Friday. That was the first half of your safety brief. We're going into a weekend. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Wait, Ma, are you talking about the guy that robbed my garage? Because I didn't know that. I may have just gotten news that I was not expecting to get. That's wow. I didn't know that, Mom. Anyway, damn. Oh, that's heartbreaking. Anyway, it's the weekend. Y'all keep an eyeball out. Tomorrow I'm going to be running the live stream from Southern Fried Championship Wrestling. I don't think I'm going to be running it on this channel. I think what I'm going to do is I'll go live on this channel, and DJ Scotty and I'll go live on this channel and Just for Fun Radio, just to announce that we're about to be live, and then the actual stream will be on Southern Fried Champion Wrestling Ship's Facebook page. But I'll be there. I'll be running multiple cameras, commentary. We're gonna have a big old time. And Dave, Mom was telling me that the young man that broke into my garage later died of a drug overdose. I didn't know that until she just mentioned it there. So that was the news to me. Dan's asking where's the wrestling. It is at the Felker Center in, did I say wrestling ships? Whatever. Champion Wrestling Ships. Anyway, Dan Burks is asking where it is. It is at the Felker Recreation Center in Monroe. Here, I will pull it. I'll pull up the banner on Facebook real quick, and I will also share that on the Brushfire Mind Facebook page if it'll open. Come on, internet. Oh, come on. Where's the event, brother? This is it. Okay. It should be an interesting show, too, because they're doing what they call a lethal lottery, where, okay, so it's at the Felker Center, 725 South Madison Avenue, Monroe. Tickets are $20 and $15. I don't know what the difference is. Sorry. Bell time 7 p.m. I'll be there between 4 and 5 to get everything set up and get started playing around. The lethal lottery, they're going to put all the names in a hat and pick teams. So you'll have people that, in theory, hopefully, you'll end up with people that have long-running enmity or drama between them, being forced to fight as a team to climb a ladder. It was explained to me yesterday, but simply, and I'm not entirely sure I understand it. But just the title, Lethal Lottery, sounds deeply entertaining. So I'm going to go ahead and share that I'll share that on my personal page. On Facebook, and I'll share it on the Brushfire Mind page. So there it is. So y'all can go find that on Facebook. Hell, while I'm at it, I'll share it on Scotty's page. There we go. I'll pretend to be Just for Fun Radio for half a second. I don't know if the Sheik will be there, Dan, but I do know that that's my show for this morning. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And go check us out on pocketnet.app and odyssey.com. Give me a like and a follow at those platforms. They're paying for content. YouTube is not. I still want to build the YouTube platform. My primary objective in building the YouTube platform is to move more and more of you away from YouTube and Facebook. I'm really keeping this on YouTube and Facebook to keep telling you all to get off of YouTube and Facebook. The problem is so many people are on YouTube and Facebook that those are the correct platforms to spread that message on. Right? So that's all about fighting the censorship mobs. Take their money. Starve their accounts. All right, don't drive, drink, don't fry bacon naked, sex, drugs, rock and roll, farm animals, and videotape. No tune at the same time. Y'all be safe out there, and I will see you Monday at the latest, but y'all, I'll be live for several hours tomorrow. Y'all take care.